Dear viewers, this is session 3 of module 1. This session covers introduction to pointers and dynamic memory allocation. Let us see what is pointer, why pointers are required. Pointers are a variable which holds the address of another variable. Pointer is a variable which holds the address of the another variable. This is a memory location which holds the address of another memory location. So here there are two important operators that are used with respect to pointers are address of operator and star, that is called as dereferencing or indirect operator. The address of operator is to get the address of a variable, and this star operator is used to declare a pointer variable or to access the value at pointer variable. Now let us see how pointer works in C. As I already mentioned that the pointer variable is a variable which holds the address of another variable. Here this particular statement int var is equal to 10. When this particular statement is get executed, then a block of memory, compiler will allocate a block of memory with the name var, and this memory block is associated with a base address hash 2008, and size of this memory block is either 2 bytes or 4 bytes, so it depends on the word size of the machine. Now when the statement int star ptr is equal to address of var, another block of memory is created, with the name ptr. Name of this block is ptr, and this is also associated with some base address. Let us assume that the base address of this is 100. Base address of this memory location is 100, and for this declared variable we are assigning the address of a variable var. Here address of the variable var is 2008. So therefore this address 2008 is going to be stored here, hash 2008 hash 2008 is going to be stored 2008 is going to be stored in this memory location. So since this holds the address of this variable, this ptr is pointing to var. By holding address hash 2008. And when I write the statement star ptr is equal to 20, so if I say simply var, it is 10. So same way, if I say simply ptr, it is hash 2008. If I say star ptr, so one thing you should keep in mind is that star means value at. Value at. So what's the value? So simply ptr means it is hash 2008. Star means value at hash 2008. What's the value at hash 2008 is 20. That is, sorry, 10. That is removed. That value 10 is removed, and 20 is stored in a variable var. So this is how we can access the memory block var indirectly through the point. That's why it's called as dereferencing operator or indirect operator. Star is called as dereferencing or indirect operator. So we are accessing the memory location with the name var indirectly through a ptr. Now this is the double pointer concept. So here when you declare a variable star ptr, again a double pointer is created, a variable pointer is created. So name of this is ptr. This can able to hold the address of a pointer variable. If I say star ptr, this is able to hold the address of an ordinary variable. If I write star ptr, this can able to hold the address of another pointer variable. Another pointer variable is ptr. So the address of that ptr is 100. This is not an exact value. Here we are assume that it is 100. So and then So since soon after storing a value 100, so this PTR is pointing to this PTR. This PTR is pointing to this PTR. Then as I already mentioned that with respect to this declaration, if I say PTR, simply PTR 100. So if I say star PTR, value at 100. So what is value at 100? Value at 100 is hash 2008, hash 2008. If I say star star PTR, now it is value at 2008. It is 20 now. It is 20 now. That's also removed, and I am assigning a value 30. So this is how the double pointer concept works. Let us take one simple example to understand the concept of pointers. When the statement int a is equal to 10, b is equal to 20 is get executed, the compiler is going to create two blocks with the name a and b, and these two blocks are associated with some base address. So name of this memory block is a, name of this memory block is b. Let us assume that the address of this memory block is 100, not exactly 100. We assume that it is 100. Name of this memory block is 200. And it will assign a value 10 to the variable a and 20 to the variable b. 20 to the variable b. So this is what happened after executing the statement int a is equal to 10 and b is equal to 20. Now the next statement is int star p is equal to int star q. When this particular statement is get executed, the compiler is going to create two more blocks now with a name p and q. With a name p and q. This block is p and another block is q. Another block is q. And then these memory blocks are also associated with some base address. Let us assume that this is 300 and this is 400. This is 300 and the address of q is 400. Then when I execute a statement, when the compiler executes a statement p is equal to address of a, comma q is equal to address of b. So address of a is 100 is going to be stored into p, is going to be stored into p. Soon after storing the address of a, p is pointing to a, p is pointing to a, and q is equal to address of b. Address of b is 200. Address of b is 200. So this is pointing to b here. Q is pointing to b. Then int x, when this particular statement is get executed, it will create a one more block with a name x, with a name x. This also associated with some base address. Let us assume that the base address of this is 500. Base address of this is 500. And star p, as I already mentioned that p is, if I say simply p, it is 100. If I say star p, it is value at 100. What's the value at 100? 10. So value at 100 is 10. 10 will be substituted here, plus q. If I say simply q, it is 200. Simply q means 200. Star q means value at 200 is 20. So therefore it is 10 plus 20. 20 is substituted here. 10 plus 20 is 30. 30 is going to be stored into variable x. That is going to be stored into variable x. Then when I execute a statement printf, percentage d plus percentage d is equal to percentage d. It's a format specifier. So first, why it is percentage d? Because all these variables are integer variables. So therefore star p means 10. Star p means 10. 10 will be substituted here. Then star q means 20. 20 will be substituted here. 10 plus 20 is equal to x. X is 30. 30 will be printed. This particular program or this particular statement will print 10 plus 20. 10 plus 20 is equal to 30. 10 plus 20 is equal to 30. This is the output of this program. This is how the pointer, null pointers, whenever the pointer is gets created, or whenever the pointer variables are get created, that pointer variable must be pointing to some memory location. Suppose if the pointer is not pointing to, the variable pointer is not pointing to any memory location, then it is called as a null pointer. So it is better to assign some value null soon after creating a pointer variable. because if the variable is not pointing to any memory location during the execution of the program, it may produce some dangerous error. That's why it is better to have a practice of assigning a value null soon after the pointer variable gets created. So the null pointer pointing to no object or a function. It does not point into any part of the memory. So such type of variables are called as, such type of pointer variables are called as null pointer. If p is equal to null, p does not pointing to any memory location. Otherwise, it is pointing to some memory location. Dynamic memory allocation. Before moving into the concept of dynamic memory allocation, let us understand how the typical memory layout of C program looks like. The entire computer memory in programming language will be divided into three parts. First part is stack, second part is heap, third part is permanent storage area. So in the stack area of the memory, in the stack area of the memory, all the local variables which are created is going to be stored, and all the dynamic variables is going to be stored in the heap area of the memory. Heap area of the memory is for dynamic memory allocation, and rest of the instructions like a global variable, other programming instruction and static variables are going to be stored in permanent storage area. This is the typical memory layout of C programming language. So now let us see what are the different techniques to allocate a memory to the declared variable in a C programming language. So the memory allocation techniques will be divided into two. One is static memory allocation and another is dynamic memory allocation. Before understanding the concept of dynamic memory allocation, we'll see what is static memory allocation, what's the disadvantage of static memory allocation, how to overcome those disadvantages by using a dynamic memory allocation technique. So static memory allocation. Static memory allocation is the process of allocating the declared variable, process of allocating the memory to the declared variable at the time of compilation itself. At the time of compilation or during compilation is called as static memory allocation. Static memory allocation is the process of allocating a memory to the variable during compilation time is called as a static memory allocation. So static memory allocation uses a data structure known as stacks to manage this. So sometimes amount of data cannot be predicted beforehand, and the number of data items keeps changing during program execution. These are the two major disadvantages with the static memory allocation. That means, as I already mentioned, that um, memory will be allocated to the variable during the compilation time itself. It's very difficult compilation time itself. That means before the program gets executed, we are allocated a memory. So it's somewhat difficult to decide a block of memory before executing the program. So during the execution of the program, if the size of the memory block is not up to the marks, then you cannot change already allocated memory block. This is the major disadvantage with the static memory allocation. So that disadvantage can be overcome by using dynamic memory allocation technique. So dynamic memory allocation means the process of allocating a memory to the variables at the time of execution is called as dynamic memory allocation. That means as and when you need a memory to a variable, you can create a variable to a memory by using some built-in functions. So here memory allocation is done on heap. That means all the dynamically created variables are going to get the space from the heap area of the memory. Here, this part of the memory, all the dynamic variables are going to be created. In C programming language, there are four built-in functions to handle the dynamic memory allocation. They are malloc, realloc, calloc, and free. These are the four built-in functions available in the C programming language to handle the dynamic memory allocation. These four functions, since these four are the built-in functions, these four functions are defined inside a header file stdlib.h. or sometimes these functions may also available in the header file alloc.h. This is the 4 functions to handle the dynamic memory allocation in C programming language. Built-in functions malloc, calloc, realloc and free. So let us see how malloc function works. So the syntax of malloc function is int star ptr is equal to int star malloc 5 into size of int. So here in this syntax, this part is get executed first. That is malloc 5 into size of int. Malloc 5 into size of int. So size of here we assume that size of the integer is 4 bytes. 5 into 4, a block of memory of size 20 bytes is created by this malloc function. So one thing you should keep in mind with respect to dynamic memory allocation technique is that this malloc function is going to create a nameless block. There is no name to this dynamically created block, and then this malloc function will return the address of the dynamically created block. As I already mentioned in the previous slide, that each and every created memory block will be associated with some base address. So that base address is written by the malloc function. So the address of this is of unknown type, but we are trying to store that address to a variable ptr. Since the variable which is going to receive the address should be a pointer, that's why it is declared as a star ptr, and here it is declared as an integer pointer. Since I am trying to store the address of unknown type to a ptr of type integer, that should be explicitly converted to a int star. This particular statement will convert the value written by the malloc function from unknown type to int star. Suppose if this is float star ptr, here you have to write float star. This is for explicit type conversion. I think you people have studied the concept of type conversion in the previous semester. So here int star will be for explicit type conversion. Why? Because the malloc function will return the address of a dynamically created memory block of unknown type that's going to be stored into a ptr of known type. Now after ptr receives the value, ptr is pointing to this particular memory location. So if you wanted to perform any operation on this block, you have to go through ptr. Then, as I already mentioned, that dynamic memory allocation means as and when you need a variables, you can create during execution of a program. If the created block is not enough, you can increase the size. So you can reallocate using a realloc function. ptr is equal to realloc ptr comma ptr means this one. It is pointing to this memory location, address of this location, comma 10 into size of int. So it will be get increased from 20 to 40. This ptr will be updated, or the size of the memory location pointed by a ptr will be increased to 40 bytes. So this is how we can increase the or expand the size of the memory block during execution of the program. Calloc function. So in this slide, we are going to understand how the calloc function will work. So syntax of malloc and calloc is almost similar, but only thing is that calloc function is for multiple blocks of memory and malloc function is for a block of memory, single block of memory. Malloc function will create a single block of memory and calloc function will create a multiple blocks of memory. The syntax of calloc function is like this: int star ptr is equal to int star calloc 5 comma size of int. So here this parameter shows the number of blocks you wanted to create, and second parameter specify the size of each block. In the malloc function, it is like 5 into size of int, like only one parameter. That parameter indicates the size of the memory block. In the calloc function, there are two parameters. First parameter indicates the number of blocks you wanted to create. Second parameter indicates the size of each block. So like malloc function, calloc function also create a create a memory block dynamically, and there is no name to the dynamically created memory block. This function also return the address of the dynamically created memory block So since it is returning an address from unknown type, from address of unknown type, so it should be explicitly type converted before storing it into a PTR. So PTR is equal to, so means the value or value returned by the calloc function is going to be stored into PTR. Now PTR is pointing to this memory block. So each of these block is 4 bytes. Each of these block is 4 bytes. So total there are 5 blocks. So 5, 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4. So total 5, 4 plus 4 8, 8 plus 4 12, 16, 20. 20 bytes of memory will be allocated for the variable PTR. So here one thing you should keep in mind is that this PTR is created at the time of compilation, and this block is created during execution. So the dynamically created memory block should be deallocated explicitly before the program gets terminated. So this is because all the variables created during compilation time will be get deallocated automatically soon after the program gets terminated. But dynamically created memory blocks will not be get deleted after the program gets terminated. That's why you have to explicitly delete all the dynamically created variables before the program gets executed. To delete, you have to execute. To delete the dynamically created memory block, you have to execute a free function, free or PTR. PTR means address of this. So this block will be get deallocated. If I execute free PTR, means this block will be deleted before the program gets terminated. If you don't delete, if you don't execute the statement free, so the PTR will be get deleted. PTR will be get deleted, and this memory block will not be get deleted, and this memory block is no longer be accessed after the program gets terminated, because there is no name for this particular memory block. This block becomes orphan. So therefore, you should keep in mind that you have to explicitly delete the dynamically created memory block before the program gets terminated. Otherwise, this block becomes orphan. This situation is called as memory leak. So now let us understand the concept of dynamic memory allocation by taking one simple example. So as I already mentioned that when this particular statement is get executed, two blocks are created. So with the name I, name of the first block is I, name of the second block is PI, name of the second block is PI, and PI is a pointer variable and I is a simple variable. Now when the second statement is get executed, float f comma star pf, so two more blocks are created with the name f and pf, f and pf, f and pf. So here f is a ordinary variable and pf is a pointer variable. Now when this particular statement is executed, int star malloc size of int, as I already mentioned that this part will be get executed first. When this part is get executed, it will create a block of memory. It will create a block of memory with no name. As I already mentioned that each and every memory blocks will be associated with some base address. Let us assume that the address of this memory block is 100, and then malloc function will return an address. That address is going to be stored into pi. So now pi will receive 100. Soon after the value 100 is stored into pi, pi is pointing to this memory block. So therefore, if you wanted to perform any operation on this block, you have to go through pi. So pi is created at the time of compilation, and this is created at the time of execution. So now when the statement pf is equal to float star malloc size of float, so now this part is get executed first. So therefore it will create a nameless block of size 4 bytes. Here we assume that size of the float is 4 bytes, and this also associated with some base address. Let us say the address of this is 200, and that 200 is going to be stored into pf. 200 is going to be stored into pf. Soon after the 200 is stored, this is going to be pointing to pf is pointing to this nameless block. And then if I write star pi is equal to 1024, if I say pi, simply pi means 100, simply pi means 100, star pi means value at 100. So nothing is there in this memory location, so it will store 1024 here, 1024 to this memory block, 1024 to this memory block. If I write star pf is equal to 3.14, pf means simply pf means 200, star pf means value at 200. So value at 200 is nothing now. So 3.14 is going to be stored here. 3.14 to the dynamically created memory block. And then it will print integer is equal to star pi. Star pi is 1024 and star pf means 3.14. So as I already mentioned that before the program gets terminated, you have to include the free statement for the dynamically to delete the dynamically created memory blocks. So here when this particular statement is get executed, this block will be deleted, and free pf means this block will be deleted and program will be get terminated. Soon after the program get terminated, all the variables created at the time of compilation will be get deallocated automatically. So for this, no need of having any statement. These blocks will be created, deleted automatically soon after the program gets terminated. So therefore, all the variables will be get deleted after the program gets terminated. So this particular slide shows the use of macros. So in the previous slide, we have studied how the malloc function works. So as I already mentioned that malloc is a built-in function. Malloc is a built-in function. Whenever the function is get executed, the control goes to the place where you have the definition of that particular function, and then it will execute all the instructions, and it will come back to the place from where it has been transferred. So to transfer the control from the main function to the place where you have the definition of that particular function, and to get back the control after executing that particular statement to the place from where it has been transferred, it will take some time. So instead of sending the control to the place where you have the definition of the function, you can replace the function definition you can replace the function call by the function definition. That can be done by the macros. If you use a macro, the function call will be replaced with the function definition. That can be achieved like this. You make the malloc function as a macro. So a macro definition or the instructions of the macro should be in a single line. So that's why I have used the escaping character here. So if I use the escaping character, the compiler thinks that this entire thing is in a single line. So even if you return the instructions in the multiple line, during the execution, the compiler thinks that everything is in single line. This is called as a escaping character. That means this escape the new line character. So now the statement malloc, in the previous slide we have a statement int star star ptr is equal to int star malloc size of int can be replaced with malloc pi comma size of int. So if you replace that particular statement, like if you have this statement also in the previous slide, pf is equal to float star malloc size of float. When this particular statement is get executed, this is the call of simple function. From this place, the control goes to the place where you have the definition of this malloc function, and after executing the instructions of this malloc function, control come back to this place only. For that, it will consume some time. So therefore, this entire statement in the previous program will be replaced with this. So therefore, if you instead of this statement, if you write malloc pf comma size of int, the transfer of the control will not happen. That means this statement will be replaced with the this particular statement will be replaced with the this one. And if you have this statement, by that time it will not transfer the control. The compiler gets the definition of a malloc function to the place where you have the function call. So pointers can be dangerous. As I already mentioned that while discussing the concept of a null pointer, soon after the pointer variable gets declared, it is better to assign a value null, because you have to always make the pointer pointing to some known memory location. Otherwise the pointer variables will produce some dangerous error during the execution of the program. And the size of the pointer is always equal to the size of the integer. So therefore it is better to have a return type for all the functions what you are using in our program. So this is because suppose if you miss the return type of the function in our program, by default compiler assume that return type of that particular function is integer. So since the size of the pointer is also integer and the default return type of the function is also integer, sometimes your function may return a pointer type. So to avoid this, it is better to have a return type for all the functions that you are used in your program. So don't miss the return type of functions that you have used in your program. So otherwise it will produce a dangerous error. So thank you. So in this session we discussed about a pointer, and we also discussed about a dynamic memory location and why pointers can be dangerous, how to avoid that problem. Thank you.